Thank you so much for coming in today. My name is Camilla, and I'm going to be your therapist today. And before we get started, I just want to talk to you a little bit about confidentiality. What you say here stays here. Um, it doesn't leave this room. And if the only time that I would share that with anybody would be as if you mentioned that you wanted to do harm to yourself or to harm to others. And then as a mandatory reporter, I have to report that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So may I ask your name?
My name is Susan Ryan.
Hi, Susan. And how would you like me to address you today?
Susan's fine.
Okay. All right, Susan, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I was born and raised in Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
and I have 3 children now. I was the oldest of 3. I guess that's pretty much it.
How long have you been married?
Almost 30 years.
Oh, wow. That's great. So tell me about what brings you in today.
I deal with depression off and on. I think I know how to handle it, but I just like to talk to somebody about it.
Okay, so you're having a little bit of difficulty dealing with the depression?
Yeah.
Do you take medication for that?
I have in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and then because I didn't have insurance, I just stopped taking it. And I think I didn't take it before I knew I had depression. I didn't take it. Then I got on medicine, and then I was off again. So.
Okay. When you were on the medication, did you feel that it helped?
I do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you mentioned that you went off the medication because of not having insurance right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's certainly understandable. Well, I'm glad that you came in to talk with me today. Now, were you doing therapy before, or?
I did therapy one time,
Mm-hmm.
but the lady acted like she listened to my problems for a couple hours, and then she says, okay, you seem like you're doing all right, so basically have a nice day and send me on my way.
Okay. Okay. Well, medication is great for a problem, but then you also want to learn some skills to cope with it as well. So it sounds to me like you might benefit from maybe learning some skills to identify when you're starting to feel down and some things that you can do to help, when you're feeling that way. What do you think causes you to get into that rut? Is there anything in particular?
Well, speaking of which, today's been 40 years since I actually was hit by a car. So when I was 7, I was hit by a car.
Okay.
And I think that kind of stems a lot from it because when I was growing up, going into school, I didn't have a lot of friends. And I got picked on a lot. And I just thought, well, maybe it's because I missed a whole year of school. And I was placed in the next grade with my friends, even though I went through summer school to catch up. Because I was only in 2nd grade, I caught up to go on to the 3rd grade with my friends. I just thought maybe that was something that made me feel that that's why they treated me the way they did, or maybe they didn't want to be friends with me. I don't know. I just felt that was maybe the stem of it.
Did you feel when you went into that upper grade that you were kind of behind? Did you struggle educationally?
I think I might have because I remember I got my name on the paddle a lot. So back in those days,
Right.
they didn't really paddle a lot, but paddle was the threat. So I just think maybe I got my name on paddle because I didn't get my work done all the time, or maybe I wasn't keeping up with all the other kids.
Okay, so it sounds to me like perhaps maybe you were struggling a little bit educationally.
Yeah.
Maybe you felt kind of forced into that position.
Yeah.
Okay. And now during the time that you were out for that year, did you remain keep in contact with your friends?
I did, yeah. The house that we lived in, we rented from, my dad worked for the farmer, and the farmer's wife, they had a family also. The kids were all the same age as us, so I had a girl that was my same age, so it was kind of close there. And then there was another girl that lived next door to me that was in my class as well.
Okay, so you still maintain contact even though you weren't in school?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you in the hospital for a bit, or?
I was in the hospital for about 5.5 weeks.
Okay, wow, quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
So that right there is traumatic.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that that didn't help Did you start feeling depressed when you were young? Do you think, or?
I might have. I
Mhm.
just didn't know. Back 40 years ago, nobody really
Talked
knew.
about those things, yeah.
Just, and then I didn't really realize that depression was what I was going through. I lost my dad in 1994, and it was probably within 5 or 10 years later, my grandma, which was my dad's mom, my grandma told me that their family, basically, their skeleton in the closet was the family was kind of had depression.
Okay.
And that's what my dad dealt with, which I never was aware of until she told me, way long after he's been gone. And that's why I thought, well, heck, that's probably why I feel the way I do sometimes, because I never knew that, I just thought it was just me.
Well, depression is definitely something that can be dealt with, and there's medication, there's skills that you can learn to help with that, and the biggest thing is finding what kind of triggers it, what kind of brings it on. What do you think that might be? I mean, when do you start feeling the depression come on? Is there anything in particular that might bring it on? Or?
I've learned to deal with it as I've gotten older and being an adult. I think it's just when things start not going very well, I just think, I just get kind of sad, and maybe that's where depression. And I don't really know if I've have a major depression problem. Maybe it's just I know there's different levels, bipolar and different things like that. But I know I've known how to deal with it all these years myself. So I think, there's people out there that obviously can't deal with it. They just, lose it. I've worked in daycare, so I know I've learned with children and different parents just the way they've acted. I know that, maybe they've had some type of depression too. I never was aware. I was never really worried about it. But yeah, I think over the years, I think especially when I had my kids, I just tried to keep it all together so it would look better for my kids and they would grow up to be strong and, hopefully not have the same problems.
So how's your family supports? I mean, do you have good family support?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I do. My mom and my dad especially was there for me, and, all the years, even if I didn't have any problems or if I did have a problem. I always felt like I needed to talk to my dad because I felt closer to him. But then, when he was gone, I have been, I guess you could say, kind of numb because he's not around anymore. My mom and I weren't as close as my dad and I were. My mom was kind of closer to my sister, so I just felt like I never could be able to talk to my mom about anything. So,
well, there's a couple things that we can do. But before we explore those things, what is your goals? What are you hoping to achieve from therapy?
Just know how to deal with things a lot better.
Okay.
Instead of getting down and getting really sad. And unfortunately, I know looking back to my teenage years, I could have had suicidal thoughts. And I know as an adult, I probably felt like suicidal thoughts as well, but I know it's not the right thing. I always think, okay, chin up, things aren't the worst. So.
Right. Well, I mean, you've made a great step in coming in here today, and definitely I'd love to work with you. And there's a couple things that we can do. One, we can certainly get you an appointment to come in for what we call a psych eval, to meet with the nurse practitioner, and they can certainly explore some of the biological aspects as far as medication. The good news is they take people on a sliding scale, so you don't have to worry about not having insurance. They can certainly help you with that. And then we can certainly work through therapy and work on some coping skills. And also just kind of telling when you're starting to feel that way, some things you can do to bring yourself kind of up from that. So I'd love to work with you.
Okay.
Did you have any questions?
Not really.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for coming in, Susan, and we can go ahead and walk out and get an appointment set for your next therapy session, and also go ahead and get the psych eval scheduled.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, you have a wonderful day.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.